Hello, and welcome to your Learning Zone, the online learning network for children's nutrition, with Grub for Life. In this module, we're looking at fussy eating for toddlers. We all know the problems we face when a toddler decides that they don't like something, even if they've never tried it. This three-part module will explain why this happens and equip you with the tools to overcome it. You can stop and start the training video whenever you like, and if you miss something, just go back to hear it again. Don't forget to have a notepad and pen to hand as you follow the slides, and there are questions to answer at the end, which will help you check that you've understood the key points in the module. And don't forget to keep a record of the time you've spent here. It could count toward your continued professional development. And if you'd like some information about any of the topics covered in this or any of our modules, go to our website, www.grubforlife.org.uk. All the modules have been devised by our registered dietitian, Nigel Denby. This is what he looks like, and if he appears on your training slide, make a special note of the information on that slide. Now we're ready, let's get started. This is part 1 of a three-part module looking at dealing with fussy eating. This module will look at why babies refuse food and then why toddlers refuse food. We'll look at your role in dealing with fussy eaters, an explanation of weaning and its effect on later eating patterns, and the roles that flavour and texture play. We're going to look at the science of the neophobic response in a child and all the numbers you'll need to know, 13 to the terrible 3s. Most children refuse to eat at some stage. It's a very normal part of development. When a child is 12 to 24 months old, they may refuse to eat because they are experiencing the neophobic response. This response is an evolutionary protection that stopped prehistoric babies from eating poisonous, harmful substances like rocks, animal feces and berries. And like their prehistoric counterparts, our children today may refuse to eat because of this primordial instinct. So, if they look at you like you're trying to poison them, this is an instinct which still survives today. New foods may need several introductions before a baby accepts them. The norm is up to 13 times. Once babies move from milk to solids, it's a very confusing time. They need your help. New foods may need several introductions before a baby finds them acceptable. And don't forget, for a baby, everything is new. Late weaning, after the age of 6 months, tends to increase the likelihood of a baby developing feeding issues later. Children learn from others, and most feeding issues resolve themselves. And eating with others helps toddlers learn to eat a wider range of foods. Around the age of 3, some children refuse foods which were previously big favourites. They may be distressed about how the food is served, or fear that the food is contaminated in some way. During this time, children will also start to associate foods with other things that they might find frightening or disgusting. For example, a child may not want to eat spaghetti because they think it looks like worms. Toddlers may also refuse food because they are tired, feeling ill, or distracted. And sometimes toddlers will eat less if they are simply not hungry or they've had enough to eat. Now, as a childminder, you can have a big influence on a child's food refusal, both positive and negative. Avoid serving too much food on a toddler's plate. This can exacerbate food refusal. Also, avoid serving a toddler excess fluids, as this can make them feel too full and not want to eat. And don't hide food on a child's plate. This will only make food refusal worse and probably have a knock-on effect on whatever you hid it in. You have a big impact on how the child you care for eats. As we learned earlier, children learn from others, so to avoid making food refusal worse, never overreact or give refusal too much attention. Remember, food refusal is a normal phase of a child's growth and development, and it nearly always passes without adversely affecting their health. If food refusal persists, keep an eye out for underlying causes. This will prevent possible consequences of long-term food refusal. Check with a GP for medical issues like oral motor skills, constipation, and anemia. And up until babies are about 6 months old, they only know the flavour and texture of milk. After 6 months, it is time for babies to start weaning. This means you can start feeding babies foods besides milk, including solids. See the weaning period, when a child is 6 to 12 months old, as a window of opportunity when it comes to feeding. The more foods, flavours and textures you introduce to a baby, the more likely they are to be happy eaters and accept a variety of foods in the future. As a baby grows and develops, so do their brain and memories. Once a child is about 12 months old, they recognise which foods taste familiar and which foods do not. At this point, unfamiliar foods can be rejected. So try to introduce as many new foods as possible before a child is 12 months old. It can be a lengthy and slow process for a child to accept a new food. It can take up to 13 offerings before a new food becomes acceptable. Keep in mind that toddlers often look at food, touch it, and smell it for a bit before they actually eat it, so be patient. When a child sees other people eating the food, they are more likely to try it themselves. Seeing others trying the food reassures them that the food is safe to try when they are ready. The mantra for carers to get through problem eating is, slowly does it. Be patient with children and remember, don't overreact or give food refusal too much attention. Never force a child to eat. This will make food refusal worse. To help a child accept a disliked food, place a food they prefer next to the disliked food and only serve one disliked food at a time. Remember to never hide a disliked food on a child's plate. This will also make food refusal worse. Try fun food activities to help children accept new and disliked foods. Some fun food activities include printing or having children help to prepare foods. For example, chopping or peeling vegetables. Okay, it is now time to test your knowledge of what you've learned in this module. If you get any of the questions wrong, don't worry, you can go back into the module again at any time. Best of luck! In this module, we learn that babies develop a fear of new foods called the neophobic response. When does the neophobic phase develop in most toddlers? Is it 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, or 12 to 24 months? When does the neophobic phase develop in most toddlers? 3 to 6, 6 to 12, or 12 to 24 months? And the answer is, the neophobic phase develops in most toddlers when they're about 12 to 24 months old. This response is an evolutionary protection that stopped prehistoric babies from eating poisonous, harmful substances like rocks, animal feces and berries. And like their prehistoric counterparts, our children today may refuse to eat because of this primordial instinct. And remember, the neophobic response is at its most active around 18 months. Let's move on to question 2. We learn that food acceptance for toddlers can be a long and slow process. But how many times might a toddler be exposed to a new food before it's accepted? Is it 3 times, 7 times, or 13 times? How many times might a toddler be exposed to a new food before it's accepted? 3, 7, or 13 times? And the answer is, toddlers may need to be exposed to a new food 13 times before it's accepted. Next question. We learned about different phases of food refusal that children go through. At what age do toddlers tend to develop distaste, disgust, or contamination food refusal? Is it age 2, age 3, or age 5? At what age do toddlers tend to develop distaste, disgust, or contamination food refusal? Is it age 2, 3, or 5? And the answer is, at 3 years, toddlers can develop distaste, disgust, or contamination food refusal. For example, a child may reject one food because of the way it's positioned on a plate next to another food they don't want to eat. Next question. It's a good idea to hide foods children don't like. Is this statement true or false? It's a good idea to hide foods children don't like. Is it true or false? This is false. Don't try to be too clever. Hiding food on a child's plate rarely ever works. Chances are the child will find the hidden food, and this will only make food refusal worse and probably have a knock-on effect on whatever you hid it in. And the final question is, what advice should you give parents whose children refuse food? Is it to be encouraged to offer their toddler alternative food, not to overreact, or offer their child drinks instead of the refused food? What advice would you give parents whose children refuse food? Be encouraged to offer their toddler alternative foods, not overreact, or offer their child drinks instead of the refused food? And the answer is, don't overreact. Paying too much attention to food refusal will make the problem worse. Well, congratulations! You have now completed part 1 of this 3-part course. Thank you for taking part. For more information, go to our website www.grubforlife.org.uk, or to contact our team, please email feedback@grubforlife.com. That's right, the website is .org.uk and the email is .com. So you're now ready for part 2 of this 3-part course on fussy eaters. Good luck and healthy learning. YourLearningZone.tv. From Grub for Life, your learning partner.